Dorian Light, if you could just take a few minutes and share with our listeners, before, kind of how you started, how your awakening or consciousness started in this dimension.
Okay, I'd be glad to. Well, I've been on a sacred path my whole life. I was a medium as a child, and then I was always in the church, but I was an actual medium. But as I got to be a teenager, my brother became a charismatic minister, and I went into the charismatic church. And of course, I was kind of told on those levels that being a medium was not the right thing to do. But in that time frame, what happened was I stepped into speaking my first language. And in the charismatic church, of course, they call it speaking in tongues. But then what I started doing was I started speaking out in the church, and my brother would interpret it, or he would speak and I would interpret it. Needless to say, I had no clue of what that was going to lead me to later on in life. My brother was hugely instrumental in all of it, but I think if I could pick out one thing, if I had to say, because I feel like my whole journey has been a journey to oneness, is I saw my first vision. I saw my brother. My brother at 45, or actually 44, got the rarest cancer they've ever seen on the planet. They're still doing research on it 30 years later. I had a vision, an open vision of his death process. I actually went over into a meadow, and there was this beautiful meadow and these mountains way off in the distance and this big, huge rushing brook. And I remember thinking, that looks like a whitewater river. It's so tumultuous, but it was so peaceful. And the most amazing unconditional love. Now, I had felt that once, before in my near-death experiences, but this was different because I'm witnessing it, right? And I see this kind of crystalline pyramid or something off in the distance. I didn't have any idea what it was. Well, then 3 months later, what I had seen, this whole process of him going into a hospital, everything was exactly as I'd seen. And there were about 50 people in the waiting room at the time because he was back to preaching, so a lot of his parishioners came in. And when he went to pass, I dropped down and I went back into this kind of trance state and went over to the meadow with him. And I was actually channeling to everyone exactly what was going on. Now, I'd never done this before. It was just all new to me, and it happened spontaneously. But that was really the beginning for me. That was the beginning, a really big beginning for my journey. And it was to witness what was going on and to see him totally healthy and whole. I mean, totally healed, healthy and whole. And he was with Jesus and in the meadow of life, and he turned around and talked to me. It's a big story. I'd actually written a manuscript on it. I might write a book on it one day. And it was so profound for me that I feel like it just kind of switched me on in a way that I hadn't been switched on before. Not even really. And I fell so in love, Patricia. I fell so in love with God, so in love with the universe. I was like so in love, and I was grieving, of course, of losing him as my mentor, my spiritual leader, my brother. But I was so in love, and I felt this in love, the love for humanity, the love for myself, the love for all beings, like I'd never felt before, not even in my near-death experiences. So that's kind of how I think what really, when I think about it, what flipped the switch on for me, the light language started it, but that vision and those open visions actually kind of clicked me into it. Does that make sense?